My name is Dina Marie Rodriguez, and this is Women of Illustration, a brand new web series so that way women like me and you, if you're a woman, can make art, get paid, and especially be heard in this male-dominated industry. I'm so freaking excited to introduce to you our next 3-part series, brand new topic, brand new artist, and we're tackling how do we learn illustration? What's the best way? And how do we know that we chose the right way? Can we just utilize the internet? Things like YouTube videos, Skillshare, Udemy, blogs, podcasts, web series like these? Or do we have to go to art school? Is art school still a thing anymore? What about apprenticeships? What about mentorships? What about all the ways we can kind of just start to join the workforce and figure it out along the way? I'm so excited to introduce you to Angela Pauly. Angela Pauly. Angie is a super freaking talented concept artist, character designer, and illustrator who's full-time freelance right now. She just has a really beautiful design aesthetic, the way that she digitally paints her characters, and she's even starting to sculpt a lot of her characters now, and I'm just like obsessed with where she lives. It's so freaking beautiful. She is based out of Costa Rica, where the sun is shining and the plants are green, and it is gorgeous over there. We actually had difficulty recording a few episodes because there were too many natural bird sounds in the background. Like, what? We are on episode 7 that is all about what are the best ways to learn illustration online. Oh, learning illustration online. Learning illustration online. What are the best platforms? Should we just dive in and spend a bunch of money? Should we try to find the free shit first? What's the game plan? There's a lot of questions. So we're going to be talking about all that and more in this week's episode. Who's ready? Who's ready? Fade to pink. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to talk about how to learn illustration online. All right, so... Did you like that? That was pretty. Okay, so this lady, who are you? Who is this face on my screen?
My name is Angi Pauly, and I'm an illustrator, animator, and just about everything that has to do with art. I love to experiment. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the answer, too. Like, when I, introduce my videos, I'm like, hi, my name is Dina Rodriguez. I'm an illustrator and a lettering artist and a teacher and a freelance coach, and I also make products, and it's really hard to make money as an artist, so you have to do as many things as you can, so that way you can pay your bills.
Correct.
It's just like this little dance of yeah, we do all the things. If it's drawn, we do it. Pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
And where are you at right now?
I am in Costa Rica, in my apartment.
In my apartment that I will not tell you because that's too much information. What part of Costa Rica are you in?
I am in what we call the Great Metropolitan Area, which is Costa Rica is super tiny, so the center of it is surrounded by mountains, and that is called the Central Metropolitan Area. If you just go out of this residential area, there's cows, and there's a little cow farm, so it's subjective. I guess I'm in the city, but in the countryside.
Have you always lived in Costa Rica? Is that where you were born?
I was born here, yeah, and I have lived here most of my life, and occasionally I've gone to live to other places for work or for art residencies and stuff, but just for small spans of time. 8 months is the most that I lived outside of home.
Have you been to the States before?
Yeah, I've been 4 times or something. I've been to CTN, mostly to LA, and I went to Disney World once. It was pretty cool.
I went to Disney World once. So cute. So this first episode is really all about, I think, the easiest way to learn an illustration, which is pretty much from the internet. There are obviously tons of different ways. We're going to get into the best ways in our experiences going to art school, whether or not we even need to go to art school anymore in order to have a fulfilling career in the arts, and also what about apprenticeships, mentorships, and internships? We're going to call them ships because saying those 3 words back to back is very difficult. For me, my brain's like, no, it's not enough coffee. We can't do that. But I think the easiest way is definitely the internet, right? So with that being said, what was your block? What was the introduction for you for learning illustration? Did it start with school? Did it start with the internet? What was your like your process?
I think like uh, the first thing that I in my life that I ever saw that introduced me to loving illustration were like fairy tale books, obviously. And now that I think of it, like the thing that I did my entire life was like draw and sculpt ever since I was a small kid. And for some reason, I wanted to be like an archaeologist at some point. But then when it came to choosing, like, I wanted a career in art because I thought like it was like the most logical choice for me.
Hmm.
And I think as for learning, I started seriously on maybe the 2 last years of high school when I was like really aware that okay, no, I don't want to be an archaeologist. I really want to be an illustrator or work in video games or in movies. I was like all over the place, right? Because now I know you should kind of focus. Um,
Yeah, but you have to like. I think when you first start out, it's important that you have like a wide selection of inspiration and style and stuff like that. All that stuff comes later once you've been doing it for a while,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
exactly. Probably the last years of high school, the 2 last years of high school. I'm not sure like if the system here is the same as in the States. Um,
Probably not.
if I have, I think not. Yeah. So we finished high school when we were like 17, 18.
Hmm.
I exited as 18 because my birthday is like on the last bit of the year. So I was always one of the eldest ones. And anyway, I started like that and I just started toying with watercolors and 100% self-taught because my art teachers didn't know like anything that could help me on that. So copying basically like everybody does. That's how I began
Hmm.
loving illustration.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you were you like one of those hip kids that had access to the internet when you were younger, or did it take you a while to like get a cell phone or a smartphone or like have an internet connection?
What took me forever was to get a Discman, which I really wanted.
A
Gosh, I'm so
Discman? Oh,
so
we're going like
old.
older. We're going old school. Like it took you forever to get a CD player.
Yeah, I wanted a Discman because everybody had them, and it was that was like the cool thing. I did have access to internet. My mom bought a computer whenever she had the chance, like the first time she had the chance. And we had computer labs at school. So what I did was like I tried to finish my computing assignments super quickly, and then on all my free time, I would just like Google images from the illustrators that I really like from Final Fantasy concept art.
Ooh,
And I still one of my favorite Japanese group of girls that makes manga that's called Clamp. They make Sekudar card captors
that's a
and
cool clamp. I like that. It's a cool name.
yeah, Clamp. I'm not sure what it stands for though. I don't remember anymore. But yeah, that was like how I learned. I would look at their stuff and I was like, ooh, I want to paint like that. So I would try to recreate like the patterns they made and try to like make the eyes similar or like the hatching on the comics because they were hand inked back then. I think
Mm,
they still do hand ink. Those were my resources basically in high school.
yeah,
So
that's
I did
cool.
have internet, but mostly at school. At home, I don't even remember. Did you have like to use your phone like to get the internet, or was it backwards? I remember I had like to give a tone and then I would get internet,
Yeah.
but I can't
I think
remember.
like how it started out was like DSL, and you'd have a landline, and you'd have to
Yeah,
use
a
the
landline.
landline in order to get internet, but you couldn't be on the phone and use the internet at the same time, or else someone would just log you off. That was annoying.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. I
yeah,
remember.
because like I think of it like I was like an early adapter of the internet. Like I remember I got like a my own personal computer probably like right in ninth grade, like right at the beginning of high school, something like that. But I didn't really use it for art, which is funny because I was in art courses from 10th to 12th, but I don't remember ever being like, oh, really into deviant art or really like searching for inspiration in that way. It was definitely
Oh
way
dear.
more analog. Like I would draw people and I would like physically take a picture and then like take it to Walgreens and like get that picture
Oh.
printed. Yeah, and then I would like use that as reference. And I think a few times I would just scan older photos of people and then maybe print them out at home. But I don't think I ever really utilized the internet as much as I could. But then
I
yeah, so it's just like Dina, you have so many missed opportunities just
no,
because
not at all. Actually, I love that too because I used to print my like my best friend and I, she's a fashion designer now. Um, we had like this folder with stuff that we liked, and we printed it, and we gave each other CDs, like because sometimes her brother would collect images from comics she liked and from game art and stuff, and then we would just go and print everything. At I think it was at school or in front of the school there was like a printing place, and I loved my folder, and I still love it. I think I have one of those somewhere around. And when I came back to university, I did that again for my graduation project because I was sick of just like being in front of the computer all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like your place of inspiration to do it like from your direct experience rather than just like um I don't know, uh, digitally on the internet, because there's like more richness of information.
Well, what would you say is like out of all the resources that are online, like what's your favorite way to learn? Is it like videos, articles? Are you more of like a podcast person? Like what's your what's your
When it
favorite?
comes when it comes about art, I like videos, but sometimes I find that it's really, I'm the type of person that for me it's super hard to focus on a video for really long. Even when I stream movies on Netflix, I rarely watch them whole. Like I cut them into pieces and then I go like draw something or I go take a walk. And so I think I just take the bits that I like. I fast forward a lot for the videos, and then I like to like make puzzles. So, for example, if I am looking for a technique on how to paint digitally like a candy texture, I remember there was this really amazing, just like demo video by Ryan Lang. He works at Disney, I think,
Hmm.
on how he would make like a hard candy texture. So I didn't watch all of the thing. I just like try to analyze the video. I put it on fast forward, and then I go and really observe the candy, and then I try to draw from my own deduction, like, okay, what was he doing? What brushes was he using? Because then I am not like I prevent my brain from being lazy, right? Like I am trying to actively find my own way of doing it, even though I am also trying to learn from the video. I don't know if it makes sense, but I like to combine stuff, and mostly by half watching videos and half trying to do my own way. Because sometimes for me, the just to follow somebody's specific technique, it's a little bit stiff, and it doesn't work for me like in the way that my mind flows as it works.
Yeah. So, what is your
Is it
favorite?
confusing?
Yeah, a little. So what is your favorite way to learn? Is it articles, like reading articles then?
I would say like the most convenient way could be videos, and if you want to learn like art theory or something, then I would go for podcasts or audiobooks. I am trying to think really hard because like I'm learning so many things at the same time. And when I work, I the only way that I can actually focus is by listening to audiobooks. So yeah, I would say that a combination of videos and articles, but it really depends on the subject matter. I would say that if you have access to, like, if you have art friends, one of the best ways actually that I've learned now that I remember, I haven't done it in ages because I haven't had the time because of work, but there's artist Google Hangout groups, and then you go on there and you paint, and then one of your friends tells you, hey, you know, your values are looking a little bit wonky, or hey, could you check my composition? What do you think? And then they will actively refer you to like this material, and comment. So I would say there's no absolute favorite for me. I would say like it depends on the occasion and what you need, and I would not restrain my my favorite thing to just one, because I find like every job takes a different needs a different learning method.
Yeah. So like you said podcasts, like what are some of your favorite like design and art related podcasts right now?
I used to love. I He doesn't post anymore. I used to love the collected podcasts by, oh, I forget his name. Let me Google it. His name is Ash Thorpe.
Ash Thorpe maybe. Well, is there any like current podcasts that you're listening to right now?
Hmm. Actually, I haven't found any good art ones. that I have liked because I've been focused a lot like on self improvement, and I do have like a um, creative living book that I just finished, audiobook, which is called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I think like there's a little bit of magical realism in it in a way and magical thinking, but she like tackles a lot of very important topics in creativity, like especially the emotional ones, which we struggle a lot with. And I think like for me that's the thing lately. Like I want to emotionally handle my career as an artist because it's such a fluctuating thing. There's like many ups and downs. You don't have like a steady job, like a government job, for example. So I create better when I'm listening to these little creative tips, like what just connect more with. Sorry, I was completely rambling because I'm thinking of the content of the book. Um, that's a very good book on creative living, and I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it's just like more like life art advice that works better for me personally, and I would recommend it to anyone. And also, The Art of Not Giving a Fuck has been really good to kick my butt into productiveness. So that's what I've been listening to lately. However, if you guys have any amazing suggestions of like interviews to artists, podcasts, or some other type of material podcast, I would love to hear
Yeah,
it.
there's
Because
like
yeah.
so many podcasts. I think my favorite right now is Honest Designers. I think is really good, and
Oh.
a lot of them are like going to be design related, just because I think they go hand in hand so often. Just because I really I'm a I would say friends with Dustin. He runs an online shop on Creative Market and sells graphics and like fonts.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
then
that's
we
cool.
have Ian Bernard, who is a hand lettering artist who also sells graphics, but was is really big into calligraphy and does a lot of those like calligraphy videos. And then there's the guy who runs Design Tuts. No, that's not right. Design Cuts. Haha! I'm gonna say it right. Design Cuts, and that's like a website that tells you about all these really cool graphics and stuff. And then there's one girl and she's an illustrator, and I hadn't heard about her until this podcast, but she's probably like I would say the most artsy out of the bunch, and it's a really cool podcast. I used to be pretty obsessed with the Sean West podcast when it was free and available to everybody.
Oh, yes, I used to listen to that too.
Yeah,
Is it not free anymore?
no, you have to pay for it. Sean's like,
Oh,
nope, I gave you guys too many free things for the past few years. You got to give me all your money now.
yeah. Well, it's reasonable. He did make pretty long and
Yeah,
well thought of content.
for
So
sure. No, I don't blame him. I probably would do the same thing. But a part of my brain is like, you like give me the free
yeah.
content.
Hey.
It was good and I liked it. But yeah, so I'm not a part of the community anymore, so I don't have access to those videos anymore. There's
Oh,
like Drunk on Lettering, which is these two girls that just they have drunk interviews with a bunch of popular lettering artists. So that's
that sounds really
obviously,
cool. I would
yeah, a
love to
podcast
hear
that I would
that.
probably listen to. There's so many more. I'll probably, I need to, you know what I really need to do? I need to make like a list of all the podcasts and like not articles, but like blogs and stuff that I read. And also I have like a shit ton of books. I know that's like off topic with learning
Me too.
illustration from the internet,
That's
but I really do enjoy, I'm just obsessed with marketing. I like to, like, I want to know how I can like best understand my customer. I want to be able to provide the most value, and I want to like be able to have a sales pitch that doesn't make me seem like a fucking used car dealership asshole. You know what I mean? Like, but wait, there's
yeah.
more. You can get two for the price of one with free shipping. Like, I just don't. Yeah, like just van away everything. Like, I don't want to be that
You
person.
know, that's there's so much. That's why I was like my brain entered into chaos when you asked me like pick one. Recently I went to an event. Like we have this really cool inclusive feminist events in Costa Rica called Girls to the Front in Spanish, Chicas al Frente. And
Nice.
you had to make a little post-it with your name and your favorite food. I swear to you, I was there like for 20 minutes and then I wrote everything except garlic because I'm allergic to garlic. But like I couldn't choose. I swear.
You're
I was
so
like,
funny. Girl, you gotta get on the
what are you
decision
asking?
making hardcore.
Yeah. And so I wanted to mention a few that I just remembered that because you were talking like I said that whatever keeps your mind in a creative spur, it doesn't mind if it's art related. Actually, I love Hardcore History by Dan Carlin. It's amazing. If you like history, and if you do not like history, I think you will like this podcast. He is an amazing narrator, and it's super interesting. And I really love the YouTuber. She's super famous, but I love her. We talked about her before. Her name is Franerd.
Oh, Friend Nerd!
She's amazing.
Yeah! I love
I
Friend
want I
Nerd.
want to have tea with her. I like her. If you ever watch this, please have tea with me one day. You're so cool.
Yeah, she's great. It's so funny because, like, since I started vlogging and, like, starting the series, I guess my content is really similar to her content. So, like, a lot of people that, like, I don't know, like, that, which I would be so blessed if when people watch Fran's work, I pop up as, like, the related content on YouTube, because that would be
Oh my god, that would
amazing.
be amazing.
But I do notice that, like, a lot of my patrons for both Women of Illustration and for Lettering Adventures also follow her. And so I'm like, all right, I feel like me and her should have a conversation at some point, because, like, I talk about her
You
so
should
much.
email her. Maybe.
I should, and be like, girl.
She seems pretty cool.
No,
I'm
she
pretty sure
seems
she would be like
cool.
nice.
I love how she presents herself. Like, she'll have, like, a little camera, and then she'll have, like, a freestanding mirror, and then that's how you'll see her, is through the mirror. I just like the way that she films, and I like how she takes time to put, like, graphics in her videos, and the fact that she's, like, beautiful in Spanish, I think, is helpful. Anytime I think someone has, like, an accent, I'm just like, oh, you're gonna do good. And it's been really fun. One of these days I want to, like, get my Duolingo back on or something, and just, like, call my dad and just fully speak Spanish, and he'll just freak out. He'll be like, what the fuck?
Wow.
And I just
I do that. Like, I also listen to a lot of I try to multitask so much. Like, I listen to Japanese audiobooks when I am working sometimes too. So, like, as an artist, I think that anything that is knowledge enriches your experience and the content you create, whether if it's language, history, culture, politics. Like, I feel like I learn equally from everything, so that's also why it's super hard to choose. Like, just how you learn from watching a film, if you're an illustrator, an artist, or even a writer, it's just like.
I love how this episode is supposed to be about, like, oh, how do you learn illustration online? But we end up just talking about, like, everything, right? Just, like, I think
it's great.
Yeah, I think it was getting into our first few episodes with Irene, where we really start to talk about how we all start to get pigeonholed in a way. Like, as a lettering artist, I would follow a bunch of lettering artists, and then you would start to see, like, the same phrases pop up all the time, the same color schemes, the same type styles, because we're all copying each other. That no one's really making anything different or new or interesting, and it's just like this vicious cycle of bland, false platitudes of positivity. You know what I mean? Where no one's really breaching out of that little pool to, like, get other different inspiration to make something cool and make you stand out as an artist. And I think we all kind of do that in a way. Whether you're a concept artist, you really know everyone in the concept space, I would assume, but maybe you don't think to pull inspiration from other sources. It wasn't for me until I went and started Women of Illustration, to be honest, and started curating other artists' work that, for the most part, like 80% is not lettering, where I'm, like, noticing my style really growing in a way that didn't before.
So nice.
Yeah, like, I can't stop using pink. I don't know, I can't stop, won't stop.
That's amazing. You never stop, please. I can't either. Like, I put pink in everything. Sometimes I think my clients will be like, there's too much pink everywhere, but they always, like, go like, the colors look great, and, like, yes.
Yeah, right. I just finished this T-shirt for Redbubble, and I was a little nervous about making the background pink. It's like a pink purple, so it's kind of pink. And she definitely was like, thank you so much for making this pink. I feel like women are afraid to use the color pink. And I was like, they are.
Why?
Because I think because they're afraid it's going to alienate men.
But dudes look like pink.
Exactly.
Too.
No, it's one of those, like, weird things. Like, it's really hard to get past that stigma. Like, I definitely had a thing where I was afraid for my work to look too feminine for the longest time, because I didn't necessarily, like, want to alienate. I don't think that's the right word, but more so, like, you want to garner the biggest following possible, right?
But that's a mistake.
It's a mistake. Yeah, like, it's better to even find your community to make art for, in a way, because then
it's better
to relate to you more.
yeah, it's better to have like a faithful audience than just my dad would say, like, shoot it with a rifle because everything goes like one of those old rifles, that are like this, just goes
Yeah.
everywhere, and then it doesn't hit anything really. So I think it's fine, and I think colors shouldn't be like gender exclusive. I was afraid
Oh,
for the longest time that my work was too cute, because if somebody, like, when I went to university, I was all surrounded by dudes everywhere. So I felt like really intimidated by all the testosterone. I had like two girl classmates, two in 20 people. We were a very small group.
yeah.
And I dreaded the people would tell me that my work was cute. And my work is cute, so what? It's
There's
fine.
nothing
And then
wrong.
I remember
Like
one
for
day,
nerds, fucking work is so cute. It's adorable cute. You know what I mean? And that's not
yeah,
bad. I actually really admire people who can go hardcore cute. And I think like me, like I think I'm starting to go.
yeah.
I think I'm starting to blend into like that millennial, sarcastic, cute kind of phase of my style. Like my next piece is going to be called Sushi Power, and I'm going to have a bunch of
Ooh,
sushi people just kind of like flexing their muscles and like doing karate moves and stuff. And it's
oh,
going to
it's
be
cool.
adorable. It's going to be like a little food fight of
Yeah,
sushi. And it's like I would never have made that like a year ago where when I was in like my gothic dark phase where I couldn't stop drawing skulls and putting way too much detail in my work and using like Victorian styles. You know what I mean? So it's just like I think we all like the internet is such a huge, giant, beautiful place. And it sucks
yes,
when we're only looking at one very tiny subsection of that space.
exactly.
So I think we really do need to diversify what we think of. Even if it's just like follow fucking new people on Instagram. Like type a
Yeah,
hashtag in there that is different from your own, right? Even if it's like paper art or food art or something, like it's going to make you think of things in a different way because I mean, you probably do the same thing. Like you see something on Instagram and you get an idea from it, even though it might have
yeah.
nothing to do with what you just saw, but it could be like the color palette or how they like. I find myself like seeing stuff in a piece and then seeing something like in the background and being like,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
that, I'm gonna make that. Like I saw this one girl do a mural and she just was like sitting in front of the mural, and then I saw these plants that had like little sushi rolls at the top of them, and I thought
Oh,
that was so cute, and that's where sushi power came from. Was from that seeing that little sushi plant in the background because I was like, oh, a
yeah.
sushi plant, that's pretty cool. And then it reminded me of like the enamel pin that everyone keeps wearing that says plant powered. And I was like, what if I did sushi
Oh,
powered? And then I was like, well, sushi power sounds way cooler than sushi powered. Well, how could I illustrate sushi power? Oh, I know. I'll have sushi like duking it out and flexing their muscles. And like, you know what I mean? Like your brain just goes on those kinds of tangents. But that would have never happened unless I was following someone on Instagram that was completely outside of my own niche. You know?
correct. And it's important in social media, and also like in your surroundings. I do that a lot too. Like I have a super crappy phone, but I'm always taking pictures of everything. Sometimes it's just like, could be like a stain somewhere, or even just like a combination of people, and then I get ideas for that has nothing to do with people, like you just said. So
Yeah. Oh,
richness of influence. I think it's important to create work with depth. So learn from everything you can, not just art and design podcasts. Everything.
yeah, for sure. All
That would be
right.
my advice.
I think that perfectly leads me. I mean, you probably just answered the question, but let's try to think of it from a different perspective. So, you're an artist, or you're trying to be, at least. I feel like people have a hard time just saying the word I'm an artist for some reason, which I totally plan on fixing in a project I have coming up that's
Yeah,
very
I
cool.
think.
And then, so with that, okay, so you're a budding new artist, and you're starting out. You're trying to get, let's say, a name for yourself. You're trying to like get an audience. You're not even trying to do client work yet. You're just trying to build a following on Instagram or Pinterest or something. What do you think for them learning illustration from the internet? What is the best advice you could give that person?
I think it's the same old advice, but I'm going to give you two pieces of advice. First one is practice what you like first. Practice what you like. It doesn't matter if it's crap. It's, let's be honest, it's going to be crap. Even when you're a pro with, I don't know, awards and shit and things, it's going to be like crap sometimes. You're going to have tons of stuff that's going to be complete poo. So it's fine. Just practice and enjoy it. Don't be thinking like, oh, I need to hit 100,000 followers. I need to have more followers. I need more likes. Just eliminate that from your mindset because it's going to destroy you. It's going to destroy you and your art. The best thing you can do is make your art because you like it, not because you want followers or money and stuff. That's, in my experience, that's going to be super counterproductive on your creativity. And I wait a second when I remember the second thing I was going to say. I forgot. Um, what did you ask me again? Could you
No,
repeat?
dude, that happens so much in the show. No one remembers what I asked them. No, because because I feel like these questions are like you could write a book about each one of these questions. Like,
Yeah,
what is your
exactly.
advice for someone who's learning to practice art for the first time, and how they could utilize the internet to practice? It's pretty much.
Oh, easily connect and create a positive network where you get good feedback from other people and take nothing personally. Just don't do it. Just learn and expect nothing from your art. It's the best thing. It's the hardest thing. But if you keep pushing that mindset there, you will eventually get to a place where you're a little bit more comfortable. I am in that place right now. And I'm really happy from that because before I was like super worried about followers, about not having 100,000 jobs, which is not a good thing, by the way. To have 100,000 jobs is
Yeah, I was like, I don't want 100,000 jobs. Nope. Unless I have like
$100,000 maybe.
Yeah.
For jobs. No, thank you.
Like, I doubt it hit 6 figures. That sounds cool.
Yeah, and just don't be ashamed of what you make. Don't try to make it. That was the second thing. Don't try to, like what we were talking before. Don't try to make something for people to like it and ignore what is that you really want to make. Because, like we said, sometimes we're ashamed that our work is too cute and that our work is too dark and depressive. Fine, if you're in that place, just make that art, get it out of you, and you'll be fine.
Totally.
Later, you can make anything you want. And don't feel forced to have like just one super defined style. Eventually, you will get there. It is maybe you won't, but there's like, for example, there's this super famous guy, and he sells this Kyle's brushes. It is his brushes are and if you see his portfolio, he has all sorts of things, and he actually said, I try to keep a diversity of work because I like to do a diversity of work professionally. So it really depends on you. However, be true. Be true. Like, I don't know. I was watching Midnight in Paris yesterday. I'm sorry about this horrible human who made it, but I like that Hemingway says all the time, his characters, like, if it's true, it will be good.
Oh, I love that. If it's true, it will be good. I'm going to write that down. If it's true, it will be good. All right. I love that. I think that's something that's such an obvious piece of advice, but it's so it rarely gets taken. You know what I mean? Like, draw what you like. Yeah. But no,
you have to snap into it. You have to snap your.
Yeah, for sure. And but we can't help it. Like, we see people online, we get jealous. We want to be them, so we copy them, right? We emulate them, but you're like, no. Like, be inspired by their productivity, be inspired by, like, maybe pieces of their work, but don't try to, like, be them, because then you're robbing yourself of the most important part of your own work, which is your perception of the world. Like, that's what makes art good. Art comes from pain. It comes from happiness. It comes from your perspective and your way of seeing the world. If you just keep copying how everyone else sees the world, then how are you supposed to stand out? And at that point, I would say that you're just a production monkey. Like, you're not even an artist at that point because you don't even have your own point of view. And some people might be like, well, what's my point of view? It's like, dude, you have a fucking opinion. Like, you have words. Like, if I asked you about any of the hard topics, like pro-life or pro-choice, do you believe in aliens? What do you think of our president? Like, we talk about this, you're going to have an opinion on it. There you go. There's a point of view. You don't necessarily need to, like, turn your art into something political or alien. I do love aliens a lot. It's probably one of my favorite subject matters that I'm going to be drawing.
I really alien.
I love alien stuff. I just love space, and I love when people talk about all the different kinds of aliens. I just think it's very interesting, and I'm definitely get rubbed off from my boyfriend who constantly watch, like, all of the really badly made documentaries on aliens, like, all that stuff.
Really?
We get drunk and just watch the crap out of it. It's so fun.
I should try.
No, again, it's like you just figure out what you like and you make something of it. It can just be representational, it could be silly, it could be cute, whatever comes naturally to you. And I think if you do that from the get-go, you're going to find your style in like a few months. You know what I'm saying? Like versus like practicing looking like everybody else and then developing a voice, because some people think you need skills first before you can have taste. You know what I mean? Like if you feel like you need to like draw, like for a lettering artist, you probably should know how to draw all these different styles before you develop your unique voice. But I think it's the opposite.
Yeah.
I don't think those are mutually exclusive. I think you could do both at the same time.
Yeah, I believe the same.
Yeah. So
Maybe like some people have are born with amazing taste and they throw four lines in there and you're like, wow, masterpiece. And then sometimes it's harder, but you know, the thing is, it doesn't matter. And even though it's impossible almost to never compare, just do it. Just do it. Believe me, your idols are also comparing themselves most of the time, and they're probably doubting. And but you don't have to be a tormented artist. I hope that you are looking into my eyes, people, and see you don't have to be tormented to be a good artist. You can be a functioning human and make good art. So, and what is good art anyway? Just do it.
No, I love how you're like, look into my beautiful doll-like eyes. Because even though like I think it's, you know, keep in mind like Angie is in Costa Rica, you know, that she doesn't have the best internet, so you do lag a little bit, but you have great lighting right now, which is like it's putting really good light on your like pupils, and it makes you look so cute. Like you got little, you have like little anime eyes right now, so it's just like look into my soul of anime eyes and feel how I feel and take heed to my message. I just love it. I just think it's so cute. What do you think, like someone who's completely self-taught, someone who doesn't have any money to go to school, they don't even have enough money to pay for like things like Skillshare or Creative Live where I have a class, what do you think is the biggest challenge for being self-taught, like money aside?
Money aside?
Yeah, money aside.
No, probably where to find the things you need for free. But I would say that it's really a problem nowadays. If you're self-taught, maybe one of the things that would be harder is like group motivation, because I know like that's the reason a lot of people go to art school. Because I told many people like, but I don't think I'll say it again later. It doesn't matter. I don't think art school is necessary truly. And a lot of people tell me, yeah, I know, but I need to be next to people who motivate me. So maybe I would say like that could be the biggest challenge because you learn so much from interaction. Uh, but you can find people if that's what you want. Like I told you, there's Google Hangout groups. Uh, just try to find a good one because there's like nasty ones where people just criticize and just find your positive vibe and group of people there. And don't be afraid to ask other people. Maybe like, hey, I'm drawing today. I'm home alone. Do you want to do a Google Hangout or something? And then you just go in with one friend or two. It doesn't have to be a bunch of people. And that would be it because really there's so much material everywhere. And to me, the most you can learn if it's from marketing and like learning about social media and stuff, all that content is usually free. You do get some premium, but I bet that if you're like polite and ask somebody you admire that's really good at any of those specific things, most of the time they will be nice enough to give you an answer. So
Yeah.
maybe courage is the hardest part.
Yeah, I think maybe like asking for help. I think, especially in the beginning, it's hard because like when you do reach a certain level of popularity, and I don't even think I'm that popular, but I get a shit ton of messages from people on like all different kinds of platforms, especially now with women of illustration that's, you know, gotten so popular so quickly, which is amazing. Thank you everyone. I just get a crazy amount of questions like what are the best resources to learn like lettering specifically for me, or what's your advice for someone just starting out, or how do I price, or any of these big topics. And they're always like a huge, like such a question that I'm like, I don't know how to answer this in like a paragraph. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But luckily we do have the internet, so a lot of people who are more popular that get if they're smart and if you are popular, take heed to what I'm going to say, you should write an article. Like, if you get questions a lot from people, instead of you having to like write this huge thing to them or ignore them, right? Just go ahead and send them a link to an article that you wrote. So like pretty much any of these big questions, I either made a video or I'm going to make a video or I have an article about it. And a lot of people, I've done a lot of the work for you. So you kind of briefly mentioned like one of the hardest things about being a self-taught artist and not having any money is trying to find the free content. But there's so many, like if you just Google free resources to learn watercolor or calligraphy or concept art or whatever, there's going to be so many publications that have already made like the 100 best resources to learn this. Like it's not hard if you just do a couple Google searches. And the only time I was gonna say like the only time I get mad is when people ask me questions that they could easily Google themselves. And
I was gonna say something similar.
Yeah, like I'm not your Google.
Just like maybe, you know, sometimes because we're so like, I feel like living in this day and age, we're like truly a little bit zombified. We lack depth of thinking and deduction and stuff because we're not used to doing things anymore. Like we just Google and there it is. So you're even lazy enough like to ask for something that's like super obvious or that you can find for yourself first. So just try to really think of your question before you ask it. Like, for example, like sit down with your book or your notebook, your notepad or something, and try to write the answers that you think you have. I do that sometimes. Like when I have like this question and I don't want to go ahead and like ask super basic questions to someone, I just like, okay, what do I know about this? And perhaps you're way more ahead than you think. So just like try to find out for yourself, because that will also enrich like the way your brain works. Your brain is completely malleable. Just shape it and shape those neural paths so they work for you. This is going to make you a better artist as well. So just try a little bit harder. Work hard for that knowledge. Not everything has to be told to you by somebody else.
Exactly.
You can do it. So that's a hard part, but once you learn it, it's going to be so rewarding. I am a research junkie. You know what my favorite part of my job is? And I have to do the call outs for like textures and details, and like they give me something super specific and I'm like, I'm going to research, and then I spend like hours researching and finding the specific things. I love it so much.
That's so funny. Yeah, I think it's just like if I ever hire employees, which I definitely plan on doing in the future, depending on where I live, like if I end up going to Madison, Wisconsin, which is an option to be closer to Rick's family, we're going to start a studio, and we're going to hire people, or I may need to go to Florida to take care of my mom. And in that regard, I probably wouldn't have any employees. But I think the thing that I would look for the most is, did you try to answer your own question first before you asked me, your boss? You know what I mean? Yeah. Because you have to think of these people. It's not their job to give you free content. And I think a lot of people expect free content from you. Like what I just said, like, oh, Sean West doesn't give me free podcasts anymore. Yeah. It's like, even though you totally deserve to be paid for your content because you've lived through it and you have experience that has value. But at the same time, like, I had a certain expectation of content from you, and now that it's changed, I feel like betrayed in a way. And I feel like that's how a lot of people do feel. So when they get so used to free content, they just think, oh, I could just ask you for anything. Or if I have a paid class, because you paid for that class, you now have permission to ask me anything you want about that class, even if it was like on my platform or something. So it's just like, I think there's a weird expectation on the internet now. And I think you can't put that pressure on somebody. Like, they're not being paid to answer emails all day. Like, we're all struggling artists. And like in the beginning of this video, like we all wear a lot of hats. Sometimes they're as cute as the one that you're wearing, and sometimes they're not so cute and they're like accounting and stuff. And we really just need to be a little bit more aware of those kinds of things. Not to say like, oh, you should never ask a question ever, but I would say I love very specific questions. Like, I hate questions like, how did you get started lettering? I don't like that. But if it's like, hey, what was the one book on lettering that really helped you? Boom.
Exactly.
I'd be like, Hand Lettering by Mary-Kate McDevitt. Boom. Easy answer. Or like, what kind of accounting software do you use? Like, I love Anco. I used to use Harvest, but Anco was so much better, and I'll tell them why. But that's awesome. Like, I
didn't even know that existed.
Oh my god. So here's a little shout out to Anco. So it's the word and, so A-N-D co. It's so amazing. You can do your invoicing, your time tracking. You can put tasks on there. And my favorite functionality of this program is it's in and out feature. So you go ahead and you connect your bank account, your PayPal, everything, and it automatically finds your
Ooh.
expenses and like in how in all your payments.
Oh
So you're
my
actually
God.
able to see like how much money am I spending too much money here? Am I getting enough money to pay my bills? Because you do so many things to garner income that I have sometimes a hard time like even
Yeah,
forecasting how much money I'm going to make
tracking.
next month, let alone did I even make a profit last month. So this just made it so much easier, and it's like $9, $12 a month, something cheap like that. It's the best.
No,
But
it's great.
yeah, so just shout out to Anco. I used to use Harvest, which was fine, but they don't have that particular feature. And also, I think you can do contracts on it too if you wanted to. So it's got like all the stuff you need to run your design business, which is cool. Just a heads up.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. So like, I love like those kinds of questions.
Oh, I was gonna say on that also, like, for example, Sean West said it a lot in his podcast. Sometimes you have to listen to things a number of times before they sink in.
Yeah, 7 times.
So if your favorite creator or ex-favorite creator made lots of free content, just go and give it a listen. You will learn different stuff every time.
Yeah.
And or notice something that you didn't. Same as when you watch a film for the second, third, fourth time. I've seen films like 10 times, and I still keep like catching small details that I didn't see before. So
Yeah.
not all is lost. There's so much free stuff. I am convinced nobody ever needs to pay much for that if you don't have the money.
Yeah, especially if you don't have the money. And that's what I try like I think is probably one of the most important pieces of information when you first start out is everyone thinks, okay, I'm seeing all these artists and their equipment and the materials that they use and I wish I could afford those materials. So because I can't afford those things, that means I shouldn't even start. Which I'm
No,
like,
not
or
really.
like, oh, I have to go to art school in order to even start. It's like, dude, a piece of paper and a pencil. Like, that's all
Yep.
you need. You don't have to post it in public if you don't want to. You can keep it for yourself, for your sketchbook. You don't need to get the $100 course or pay for that $300 workshop if you're just starting out. Like, go through all of the free resources first. And then when you start to bottom out on those free resources, then start to pay for like the cheap stuff, like maybe start to get like a membership to Skillshare, which I can leave a link for the bottom, give you guys a really good introductory rate if you guys are interested in learning more, and you can get like access to as many videos as you want every month for very little amount of money.
Yeah,
And then you
super
can
cheap.
maybe go to Creative Live or lynda.com or go to workshops or go to conferences and go baby steps. Like,
Yeah.
I always use the example of like when I first started Letter Shop, which was originally called Logo Juice. I bought I made the mistake of making like very expensive letterpress business cards, which are like $800 for like 100. It
Ooh.
was like they were beautiful. They were like 3-ply. They had like the color seam on the
Yeah.
side. It was embossed with my logo. It was gorgeous, very simple, beautiful. But I definitely shouldn't have bought those. Could not afford them anyways. My logo ended up changing 6 months later anyways, and so then I had all these cards that I didn't even give out because he's in art school for some reason. They're just like, you need a business card, and it's like, no, I need an Instagram, Grandpa. I don't need a fucking business card. But sorry, it makes me mad. I used to teach, and that was like something that bothered me. But you just need to start. Like, I could have easily just like gone to any shitty website and gotten very cheap cards, and that would have done the same thing. And then I could have grown to that point. It's not like I'm this huge
Yeah.
agency that makes $1 million a year.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And pro tip, that's like on my list of unnecessary things.
Yeah,
That and
totally
manicures.
unnecessary. But you see other people doing it, and it makes you want to have those things because you feel like
Yeah,
if I
of
have the
course.
things, then the skills will follow. It's like no, no, you could use a box of crayons and get just as good as anybody else. It's really not the tools that make a craftsman. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
it's your effort and your willingness to learn that makes a difference.
well, that's so we're pretty much wrapping up on this episode on the best ways to learn illustration from the internet. Any final tips or tricks for internet users everywhere who want to learn how to draw and get those math skills?
Apart from practicing a lot, I would say that the thing that has helped me the most is practice other forms of creative release. Like, for example, if you're lettering artist, why not try sculpting a little bit? You can buy like some cheap clay and try that, or if you are a sculptor, why don't you try ceramics next? Maybe that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to a ceramics class on this Saturday. I'm super excited. Um, just try different stuff that nourishes you creatively, because for many of us, our job is also who we are. So we have fun drawing. So if you work drawing and have fun drawing, sometimes it becomes a little bit hard to like put a limit to that. So try different stuff. That's like my tip, and you will learn lots from it. You will get better at drawing, better at sculpting, etc. So
Yeah. Man, I think this has turned out to be a pretty good episode. We had a couple tangents, but that's okay. I just think there's so many different ways that we can learn illustration, and there's no wrong or right way anymore. And that, I feel, is true freedom. Like, and that's really all that we want, isn't it, as artists? We want the freedom to create our own schedules, the freedom to draw whatever we want, the freedom to spend as much time with our family as we need to, the freedom to choose our own projects that we work on. So doesn't it make the most sense that we have a free way to learn the craft in the first place, so that way we can attain the freedom we so much desire for ourselves? It just seems like it goes pretty well and very hand in hand. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, well, in the next episode, we're going to be talking about, do we really need art school? Is art school a thing? Is art school just for people who need art school because that's the only way they can learn? Can we just get rid of it completely and invest our money somewhere else? Because if you think about it, like, I spent over $100,000 on my education. Where else could I have used that money? Like, if I was self-taught on the internet, how far would that money go, like, on videos and courses? I bet you I could, like, buy so many coaches that would, like, you know what I mean, for that amount of money.
Private mentoring even.
Yeah. And then the next episode after that, we're going to be talking about all the ships, which is like apprenticeships, internships, and mentorships. You know, like, maybe you're not self-taught from the internet. Maybe you're not getting, you know, jobs in it, or necessarily like going to art school. Maybe you just have someone who is able to guide you through each phase. And now it's very in to have like a coach, like a life coach or a business coach.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into all that stuff and come back with Angie. All right. See you guys next time. Just really cute. Like, bye. Yes, we did it. We listened to that episode. I know it was a long one. You're a trooper. Thanks so much for listening. I think there was a lot of really good stuff in there. The internet is a big, beautiful place, but it also can be a complicated and daunting arena that it's hard to navigate. So guys, just remember, you have a lot of options out there. Don't restrict yourself to just one way of learning. Open your eyes and your heart to different ways of the almighty internet, because I bet your ass you're gonna freaking figure out your shit way better than just sticking to one single avenue. When we come back next week, we're going to be exploring the next phase of education, which is art school. Is art school for everyone? What are the pros and cons of going to art school? And do people usually regret going in the first place? We're going to get into all of that with episode 8, back with Angela Pauly. As you guys might remember, we went ahead and did a call for volunteers, Women of Illustration. It's super overwhelming for me to do all the cool things I want to do for Women of Illustration, but not having the time and also not having the income in order to focus on it. So luckily, when we went ahead and asked for volunteers for Women of Illustration, over 60 people applied. Oh, I'm just so excited, and I'm so thrilled to introduce you to our official volunteers. Are you ready? We have Grace Emmett. She is a writer. She is creating original content for Women of Illustration. She just went ahead and released her first ever article, which is all about overcoming the anxiety behind being an artist, which I found very insightful. Definitely check that out on the site. We also have Rachel Campbell. She was actually the first volunteer we had from Women of Illustration, because she just reached out and wanted to help before I even actually officially asked for help. She is the one in charge of all the show notes, creating the article versions of every single video, so that way you can both read and listen to each episode, and you can always come back with some information, which I think is really important. We have Emma Niemans, Rayanne Alvin, and Catherine Socha. These are our 3 social media helpers that go ahead and help me curate the Women of Illustration Instagram. So guys, please use the hashtag Women of Illustration in order to be featured. These ladies are going to be the lookout for the coolest stuff they can find. Definitely put your work out there, because I want to see it and I want to help promote you. And then finally, we have Altri Mariska. She is our official editor. We might have a few more editors, but she so far is the best I've seen. And she's going ahead and really taking the time to mix these videos together and make them really interesting for you guys to watch. She is amazing. I love every single one of these volunteers. And I hope you follow each one of these women and you give them some love, because they deserve it, because they're doing this for no money. And it's just so nice. Guys, if you are digging the content that we're making every single week and you want to be able to support us, all you have to do is you can hit that subscribe button and tell all of your friends and family about Women of Illustration, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on YouTube, or whether it's just text message or virtual device if you're choosing. We want to get as much free educational content out there to as many female illustrators as possible, because we really mean it. We want more women to get exposure in this industry. We want us all to figure out what's the best way for us to make a living and figure out our niche. And more importantly, how do we make the most amount of money so that way we can all be independent women and pay those freaking bills. Finally, guys, I would love it if you would consider supporting us on patreon.com/Women of Illustration. For just $1, $1, you get early access to every single video, and you get exclusive access to live streams with the guests. We will very soon be actually having live streams of every single episode, which means that you'll literally get episodes months in advance. That's crazy. I wanted to go ahead and give every single one of my patrons, all 56 of you, a shout out and a special thank you from this video. Let's do it. I'm going to say your names wrong and I'm excited. Okay. Mythology Studio, Candace Evers, Adrian Tilley, Devin McSherry, Studio Dodge, Francisca Rollet, and Audrey Green. Those are our mastermind group women. Super excited to go ahead and give you guys more freelance advice. And then for our $1 patrons, we have Deidre, RJ, Becky, Apocalypse, Shauna, Nikki, Melissa, Doris, Carla, Kelly, Zach, Aaron, Lisa, Annie, Deepti, Kat, Lisbeth, Nicole, Angie, Ashley, Elizabeth, Chad, Vicky, Jenny, Savannah, Rayanne, Aaron, Leslie, Erica Dillon, Brittany, Kim, Pepper, Maron, Kristen, Carmel, Shelby, Barbie, Emma, Dory, Carla, Laura, Sharon, Carissa, Ella, and Hiana, Veronica, Lynn, Sarah, and Robin. And guys, I appreciate everything that you give me, and this is so much work, and I'm so blessed to have all of you watching in my life, even in a very small virtual way. You are amazing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye!